Good morning, good afternoon, possibly good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this virtual conference, the 9th International Conference on Business and Economic Development. And this conference is co-sponsored, co-organized by Medgar Evers College, which is part of the City University of New York, and also the Center for Business and Economic Research in London. So it is a marvelous example of a transatlantic cooperation, and we're delighted to report that over 16 different nationalities will be represented in this conference over the next 3 days. So a very warm welcome to you all. Congratulations on mastering the technology of Zoom. We are certain that there will be the occasional hitch over the next 2 or 3 days, but we hope that we'll all be patient and will persevere, and no doubt an enormously stimulating time will be had by all. This conference is sponsored by New York Life, which for 175 years has been providing financial security and peace of mind through insurance, annuity, and investment solutions. And we're very grateful for their support and their interest in this important event. If we stop for a moment and think about this virtual conference, we know that it came about essentially through the good faith of 2 remarkable individuals, Dr. Joanne Roll of Medgar Evers College, New York, and Dr. Palto Rajan Datta of the Center for Business and Economic Research in the UK. Their remarkable faith and cooperation and belief in a brighter future has driven the realization of this conference. They were absolutely adamant that COVID-19 was not going to stop the sharing of knowledge globally. And that is something which is a very good reason to cheer and motivate us all in what is a very challenging year for everyone on planet Earth. We're proving our own resilience, our own ability to innovate, our ability to reach out from our own cultural and ideological and national redoubts and engage with one another, and to be open to new ideas, to share thoughts, to share research, to raise questions, and to engage. And it's probably been never more important this century to engage than now, a time when many countries are looking inwards because of the enormity of their problems, and yet we know that many of the solutions will lie in cooperation, in partnership, and knowledge sharing. And that certainly goes, for instance, with regard to the research for a vaccine, with regards to COVID-19, that wherever a vaccine is eventually found, we will all have reason to rejoice and to share and benefit from human endeavour. And this conference aims to be, in its own small, unique way, an element of human endeavour and engagement and partnership. Let me share with you a little bit about the 2 institutions that have come together to put this conference together. Firstly, the Center for Business and Economic Research, which is based in London in the UK. They've been responsible since its foundation in 2006 for organising a whole series of international conferences. Some of you who are here virtually today have actually participated in these conferences in places such as Boston, Pune in India, out in, for instance, Alexandria in Egypt, There have been a whole series of international academic conferences over the years, and this has been a major stay of the Centre for Business and Economic Research. It also is a bespoke consultancy and does work both in the UK and internationally. Earlier this year, it was doing some extremely important work out in Bangladesh and also further afield. Obviously, even in the current climate, there are clients that are reaching out to CBER as regards to the sort of expertise that they can share in various fields. And its final dimension to its portfolio is the fact that it's responsible for the publishing of 4 scholarly journals: the International Journal of Maritime Crime and Security. And in that regard, we're very pleased that we have Professor Chris Bellamy, who is associated with that journal, and he will be giving our first keynote today. So we're delighted to have him on board, and he has intimate knowledge of that particular journal. The Journal of Business and Retail Management, which is the oldest of the 4 journals in the portfolio, the International Journal of Business and Economic Research, and the International Journal of Higher Education Management, of which I am fortunate to be associated both with that journal and with the Centre of Innovative Leadership Navigation in London. Medgar Evers College, which is a senior college of City University, New York, is based in central Brooklyn, a very dynamic area of New York. It aspires to produce global citizens. It's named after Medgar Wiley Evers, an African-American civil rights leader. And an enormous amount of thought leadership is coming out of Medgar Evers College, and they're particularly proud of their ability to empower people from diverse backgrounds to not just have a local vision, a national vision, and an international vision. Dr. Joanne Roll was actually out in Bangladesh earlier this year delivering a keynote there, and she's very widely traveled, and we'll be listening to a recorded message from her shortly, but we'll be hearing a lot from her colleagues and various academics who are contributing to this particular conference. Over the course of the next 3 days, we'll be having a series of academic tracks and papers being presented. Papers will, in essence, have, presenters will have 12 minutes, in essence, to present their papers, and then there will be some limited time for questions. And I believe from Dr. Datta that there will be scope at the end of each academic track to actually vote for the next paper virtually. There will be a process there, and the certificates will be awarded at a later stage. Please note that participation in this conference will mean that all participants will receive a certificate, and on that will be awarded a number of CPD points, which are all about continuous professional development. And the Centre for Business and Economic Research is fully validated in this regard, and therefore certificates can be authorised with CPD points featured. We hope that you'll be able to send messages across where relevant via your screen box to the organisers of this conference, and where possible we will endeavour to highlight any particular issues and iron out any technical difficulties. There are bound to be slight hiccups as people upload their presentations. Most of the keynote speakers will deliver their own presentation, but there will be some presentations made in absentia. And Dr. Datta, I believe, has those presentations and will deal with a handover there. I don't know what you know about Dr. Datta. I've had the privilege now of knowing him for 2 decades. It seems remarkable to me that 20 years has gone by since we first met. He is a fascinating individual who is a marketing specialist. Marketing and branding are his main areas of expertise, and he has his second doctorate actually in marketing. I've traveled various parts of the world to various international conferences with him, and so in the course of some of the flights that we've taken and the stays that we've made, I've discovered something of his passions and interests and his background. It always amazes me to think that he can read and speak fluent Russian, for instance, having taken his first degree in Moscow. And his ability to speak Russian is, I believe, a skill that he can possibly share with Professor Chris Bellamy, who also has an insight into that particular fascinating language. And I know there is other Russian speakers who are participating in this particular conference. It is its international nature that Dr. Datta and Dr. Roll were passionate about. They were very concerned that in this era of COVID and post-COVID, there is a real danger that we all go in on ourselves. And it's more important than ever that we look outwards, that we engage in partnership, that we're open to new ideas, and that we look to see what's going on at the world beyond our own locale. Often in our own societies at the moment, the media is dominated by COVID, and therefore we're hearing very little of the news beyond these shores. And it is paramount that we are receptive to new ideas and that we're curious about what's going on. So we're hoping that over the next 2 or 3 days that you'll gain new insight, that we'll be curious about some of the new developments. Inevitably, some will have been superseded by events, because we're all seeing that the entire global business landscape is being transformed in the era in which we are living through. And even the whole way in which we interact and go about business is being transformed, and in a way is being speeded up because of our need, our necessity to utilize technology. We believe at the heart of this conference are 3 core elements: method, integrity, and camaraderie. Without method, there is no meaningful research in any field of human endeavor. Without integrity, that research is meaningless. It has no value to humankind. And in an increasingly troubled world, we certainly need to work towards camaraderie and forging new, meaningful and purposeful relationships. And we certainly hope that this conference will be a vehicle for new relationships, re-engaging with colleagues that we've encountered before, meeting new colleagues, and hopefully being curious enough to want to follow up on some of these island conversations, build on them, and develop partnerships for the future. In that regard, we certainly believe that social media has an important role to play, and we hope that you will tweet about the conference with the Twitter handle, which is a hashtag, capitals ICBED, and then the number 20. Please do tweet your thoughts, your observations, your insights, and your reactions to the wider world, a way of sharing to the wider international community that we're not just talking to each other, we're talking and have something of relevance to the world beyond this conference and our own careers and objectives. On a personal note, I would like to extend a particular thanks to all those who've put this conference together. Enormous amount of work has gone on behind the scenes and you will have received various emails in recent weeks. We're particularly grateful to the reviewers who've done enormous work in assessing and appraising the papers submitted for inclusion in this conference, some of which will then be resubmitted for consideration for some of the journals that I've mentioned in the course of my conversation now. In a short while, I'm going to ask Dr. Datta. He's going to put up a short message from Dr. Joanne Roll, and then after that, I'll have an opportunity to introduce Professor Chris Bellamy, who's kindly agreed to deliver the first keynote of this conference. So again, I want to extend a very warm welcome to you all. Some of you have joined us in the last 5-10 minutes. So please, wherever you are in the world, welcome. Thank you for your perseverance, patience, and most importantly of all, thank you for your trust in this conference as a vehicle to share your research, your knowledge, and your insight with fellow academics and the wider world. It's a real pleasure to be a part of this, the 9th International Conference on Business and Economic Development, which has been co-organized by Medgar Evers College of New York and the Centre for Business and Economic Research, London, with sponsorship by New York Life. Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Datta now if he would like to, may wish to say a few words. If not, we're going to have a presentation, I believe, a welcome message from Dr. Joanne Roll, who's the Dean of the Business School at Medgar Evers College, which is part of the City University of New York, United States of America.
Thank you, Mark. That was